Hello, family. Welcome back to JFK Today, your direct link to all things politics, comedy, and culture. I am your host, Janaya Future Khan, champ yapper and frequent nuisance in the activist and comedy worlds. Let's get dialed in. Just before we jump, JFK Today is a self-funded, self-produced show. We're on Patreon at Janaya FK. I am so grateful for all the support and for you just taking the time to listen. I don't know if you could tell, my voice is still a little bit hoarse. Yuck. Every trans man's dream. No, the fires have been raging, and they've been contained in certain areas. We'll get into that in a moment. But more close friends of mine have joined the ranks of people whose homes have been reduced to ash. And, in the maelstrom of social media and news media, finger pointing. I just realized I pointed into the camera for the podcast listeners. Specifically, everybody's a podcast listener. No, who watch it on YouTube. You just saw my Simpsons Band-Aid. Yes. It's been heartbreaking in a way, that this is the new norm. We can expect not just that crises will happen and will continue to happen, but that the politicians that we have in place, bad actors like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, are going to continue to shape the discourse in a way that is Looney Tunes like. And but I will say, it's been a little fun watching the girls fight. Bannon no longer likes Elon Musk, and I'm like, let's just keep this trend going. Steve Bannon, if you don't know who he is, was at one point the architect of white nationalism, and when you look at him, you can see the full embodiment of all of mankind's sins. But that's neither here nor there. Amidst the finger pointing and the nonsense and everything else, I've seen these astounding, breathtaking moments of community, especially out by, Eaton and Altadena, where most of my friends, lost their homes. And just community, tears, and the word rebuild has come up so many times. And, we don't get to see those kinds of things often enough. The lengths that we will go to ensure the safety of a stranger. And still, I'm furious. Having done the Resnick's episode, I realized that there were so many more bad actors that needed to be revealed. We talked about this leading up to this year. What would 21st century organizing look like? And so this episode is dedicated to revealing another pressure area for us to consider as we move into this new era of organizing, of activation, of thinking. I can't tell you how grateful I am to actually just have this space with you all while we, unpack many of these shadow forces that are influencing us. And, I just love how far dudes especially would just go for these like conspiracy theories. I'm like, you don't need to reach, my nigga. It's here. Like, it's right in our face. But I will say this, one thing that definitely got my attention though was how Musk and all the hyper right have been going after the LA fire chief. And I was like, why are they going after Kristen Crowley? Like, I want to know more about that, right? All the other hyper right weenies. And they were citing DEI, which I'm not used to seeing on somebody that doesn't look like me. And then I was like, oh, it's the lesbian thing. They're upset that she's a lesbian. And so I take a look, and I'm sorry, LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley is a butch. Okay? Like old school butch. Like slick back ponytail, salt of the earth butch. Let me tell you something about a butch. When real shit goes down, that's who you want. I promise you, the entirety of LA County might have been gone were it not for this person. Like, I'm talking a little bit of trash here, as you know, because, well, in the coming days, I think all levels will be revealed. But I am really grateful for all these firefighters who have dedicated their, their hours and their blood and their sweat to putting these fires out, and particularly the incarcerated population. I know that there's been some coverage on that, thanks to left-leaning, pretty much indie media, streamers like Hassan Piker, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that we're humanizing each other despite every effort to do otherwise. So with that in mind, this episode is called The Land Barons Who Let LA Burn. So we talked about the billionaires who stole the vast majority of California's water in episode 99. This is our 100th episode. And there is a reason, right, why these fires burned as intensely as they did. That fires are going to happen in Los Angeles. You can expect that in California, right? But the intensity of these fires are so intense that sequoia trees, right, these stunning, sentient beings who have lasted and lived for hundreds of years, some were around when Jesus was walking around, right? Not white Jesus, the one that was here, running around. Those trees were there. They have, sort of manifested. They have, petrified in such a way where they're insulated from fires. But the intensity of the fires that burn today can break down these stunning sentinels, in our forests. That's how hot they were. And I said a reason, really, I meant several reasons, right? And so when I'm thinking of this, it's like, we've been talking about Newsom, we've been talking about Bass, talking about climate change, and all of these play a role. But there's just something not adding up. I felt the same way about the water. We know, right? This is the thing that gets me every time. It's not that we don't know, and you'll have to excuse the sort of, it's very, I haven't slept in a long time. And so, this is, I guess, storytelling mode a little bit, but all of these things I'm about to say are factual, verified, researched, and just stunning in their absolute, the things I will reveal in their absolute disdain for human life. Okay, so just a quick update on the fires. The Palisades fire is still ongoing. We've seen now 23,713 acres, right? That's in the Pacific Palisades. So that was westward from the Pacific Coast Highway all the way up towards Malibu, right? And as of late Sunday, right? You'll be hearing this Monday morning, which is actually when I'm recording it. It's like, this episode should be uploaded already. I had some tech issues, forgive. But the fire was 13% contained, right? That's it. And the containment itself is a massive achievement. So, many parts of the Pacific Palisades, Malibu, Santa Monica, Calabasas, Brentwood, and Encino are under evacuation orders or warning. Eaton fire, right, burned 14,117 acres, right? Many structures in Altadena and Pasadena. And as of late Sunday, the fire remained 27% contained, right? So around 7,000 structures were burned in that fire. So right, whenever disaster strikes, right, where the needs of everyday people exceeds the resources made available to them, and note that I said resources made available, not resources available, right? Just know that every moment that led up to the intensity of these fires was a choice that brought us to this moment. Every single political leader in the country right now should be saying, this is what a 1.5 degree increase in the temperature does when it meets, this constant and ceaseless corner cutting that comes with late stage capitalism. I referenced this already. We'll get back into it, but you've been told it's Newsom's failure, right? It's Bass's failure. You've been told it's DEI, right? And that it was the firefighters' fault, or that the simplification, we just didn't have enough water, or the droughts. And there's a level of truth in all of this, but very similar to the water barons, right? Land barons are getting a pass. Our power map isn't powerful enough. We're not looking high enough, right? And we've got there's one thing though I want to just note before I go in, because it's been really bothering me, right? The looters framing. it's in the news, it's everywhere else. Hyper right, far right, white nationalists, white supremacists, all those other weenies have been talking about looting. And, this is a small thing. It is happening on a very small scale. But I take umbrage to specific words. I like my words, y'all. It's the implication of the word itself, right? Looting. It's extremely racially charged. It's extremely classist. But is it accurate? Because what we do know is it's sensationalist. And the context for looting is, that of being taken. There's an element of violence from it, right? As a noun, that is true, right? Especially in like private property. And as a verb, there is this implication of violence, right? Stealing goods, typically during a war or riot. When it's a noun, right? Especially private property taken from an enemy in war. That's not what's happening. To me, the more accurate, less racially charged term, right, is rifled, which is to search through something in a hurried way in order to find or steal something. We could just call it stealing. That's all it is. Some people are digging through shit to steal some shit, and I wish that wasn't the case, and I wish that our circumstances didn't make scavengers out of regular people, but that happens sometimes. And I'm just so tired of the misleading and misdirecting that's happening amongst us, right? What I'm about to share is about as damning, is it damning as the previous episode on these water billionaire barons, right? The real looters in California, right, are our land barons. When I ask questions like, why did these fires burn as intensely as they did and as long, right? We know. We talked about these other elements, the climate reality, not doing controlled burns, all these other things. These will be episodes later down the line. But the real estate agents and the land developers, all of these interests have endangered every single person in the LA County, right? They have purposefully crushed efforts to limit development in high wildfire risk areas, right? That includes neighborhoods right now in LA that are just complete ashes. Let me tell you a story. Buckle in, okay? So on April 12th in 2019, there's going to be a lot of these little references, but don't worry, I'm going to source all of them for you. Governor Newsom, he has strike force, and they issued a report called Wildfires and Climate Change, California's Energy Future. You can find this at www.gov.ca.gov. Very repetitive, right? But the title itself, you should be able to look up directly. This is a free PDF. All of these things are free. So the fires in Los Angeles, right now, that are still burning as I record this thing, that forced more than 100,000 people to evacuate and is ranked as the most destructive fire in the city's history, right? Yes, climate change was the factor to pay attention to, but what fanned these flames outside of the 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts, right, exacerbated by 8 months of little rain, were the powerful real estate and construction interests that have successfully fought against limits on development for wildfire safety. They've beaten back every safety standard for fire-prone areas. And you want to hear the grossest part about all of this? Well, it's all gross, right? When developers and city planners propose high-risk projects, right? So high fire risk projects in California, right? So they draw up these plans to build thousands of luxury homes on land that regularly suffers wildfires. They often fall back on the same justification. What is that? California's ongoing housing crisis. That's right. They use houselessness and homelessness to justify building these $1 million homes, right? They don't care about affordable housing. That has nothing to do with it. And they cut corners while they build these extremely expensive homes. So all of these celebrities, right? And I understand, they're heartbroken in the Pacific Palisades. Their homes have been reduced to ash. They're angry at Bass. They're angry at Newsom. And we are as well, on some level. Maybe not everybody, right? But on some level, I've seen just as many leftists criticizing them as I've seen people on the right. But the thing that troubles me is that the criticisms from the left sound eerily like the criticisms from the right, right? Very eerily. And you will never hear from the right, ever, about the billionaires. You will never hear about these massive real estate interest groups, these lobbies, right? These corner cutters. You don't hear about them because that's their people. So they tell us who we should hate or who we should go after or who our targets are. And more often than I'm comfortable with, we fall in line. And I think it's about time. I think it's about time that we change that. So I did this. I scrolled. So who am I talking about right now? The California Building Industry Association. This is the lobbying arm of California's developers and building contractors, right? It's an industry estimated to have generated more than $60 billion in residential building revenues in the state in 2024. You hear me? This is massive. And, some of you might be familiar with this. This is news to me. I just can't believe it. I just cannot believe it. So how do they keep getting away with this is the question, right? Like, obviously there's documentation. These reports come out. How do they keep getting away with proposing these high fire risk projects in California? Why are they never blamed, right? So when these developments ultimately catch fire, as we've seen in the Pacific Palisades, there's no way to hold the developers that push them through accountable. We have no means for it. Jack, I want to say his name's Eaton? Ooh, it's EIDT. I don't know how to say that. I respect you, sir. I don't know. Anyway, so this is a Los Angeles-based urban planner and environmental journalist, okay? So this person explained that this phenomenon could be seen in the recent Palisades fires. This isn't just my opinion. This is from an expert, right? This consumed 20,000 acres and burned down thousands of homes. The fire spread outward from the Palisades Highlands neighborhood, one of the Palisades' more recent developments, right, which borders undeveloped state park land into lower risk areas. So developers chose to build on those high risk areas for probably the vistas, right? And the people spending buco bucks on this, they don't know that these corners have been cut. And look, I know that there's been a lot of, serves you right a little bit, from some people on the left. And I understand you don't need to, or feel the need to extend empathy to every type of person, but I'd be very careful about apathy because it spreads very much the way that these wildfires do. It's embers that carry on, and so you think that you can just put a stop pause on where empathy or apathy begins and ends, but it's very difficult to do that. If one place is burning, they're all going to be burning soon. And we know that because for a lot of us, our communities have been metaphorically and literally on fire for a long time. This is what Jack, damn it, I wish I could say this person's last name. This is what Jack had to say, right? If some entity would have stopped development out in Palisades Highlands, this fire would never have spread to Palisades Village. So they're putting all of us at risk when these types of developments are approved on the edge. So if you want to see a map of these zone maps that I just referenced, that's at osfm.fire.ca.gov, right? That's the LRA Fire Hazard Severity Zone Map. These things have just long-ass names. But all of this is so well documented if only we knew where and how to look. So has anyone tried to stop this? That's the question that I have, that you have. Has anyone tried to stop this, right? A perfect example of what of what we've talked about on this show extensively, right? Some of the best bills out there are some of the bills that come out that good people write, they get killed on the vine, or we never hear about them. This might not be the best example of it, but it is one that is certainly on the, when it's not on the bullseye, but it's in the outer circles. I don't know words at this time, but listen, Stearns bill. Okay, Stearns bill. That's right. Okay, so in 2021, Henry Stern, a Democratic state senator, This Henry Stern had lost his home in Los Angeles Topanga Canyon fire in the 2018 Woodley fire. So he was fighting the California legislature to stop development in high risk areas. Right? So somebody tried to do something about this. And one of his quotes that I really like is, "No, you can't build your new mansion." Love that. So bitchy. Love it, right? So this is 4 years before the firestorm that we've all just endured, right? So Stern was trying to pass a bill that would block most development in zones designated by the state as very high risk of wildfires. California State Fire Marshal mapped out these fire risk zones. That's in the map that I just named, classifying areas as moderate to high to very high risks for wildfire. These designations informed building safety standards and disclosure requirements for property sales. That's what it would have given us, right? So in 2021, Stern's bill would have barred development in very high-risk areas. It's a direct quote from it, in those zones, with exceptions for cases in which fire agencies adopted a comprehensive plan for wildfire risk management. So think again about the way that, outside of the water situation and the drought situation, where our firefighters simply are not trained. They literally cannot fight fires have this level of intensity. They would have been empowered to have a very comprehensive plan, risk management plan in place, but they were denied that opportunity, right? So without limitations, right, development in these areas would just continue to boom. There's a study in 2014 estimated that by 2050, 1 million additional houses would be built in very high risk wildfire zones in California, right? So already there are 2 million homes in high and very high risk wildfire zones in the state. Now just think about this. The fire started in the Pacific Palisades. They're still working out exactly why it happened. Some people are saying it's Emerson, I think the electric company. I read several other articles that cited that a smaller fire had happened before, though without being very specific about the why. And firefighters have been criticized for not responding in time. It's very possible that they didn't. It's very possible that they have been dedicated and dogged in their, response. Nothing changes the fact, right? Not the fact that our mayor is black here in California, in Los Angeles, or that, the fire chief is a lesbian. Like what? Like just imagine that with everything that's happening, right? Like this empire crumbling, whatever you want to call it. People not being able to pay rent, which is another thing we're going to talk about, this, that, and the other. With all of these things happening, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and so many others across the right are like, the reason why your life is hard is because black people and lesbos have jobs. Like, that's literally what they're trying to suggest. Make it make sense, right? So the study, by the way, that I just referenced is called... that one that was estimating how many homes would be at risk in California by 2050 is called Modeling Residential Development in California from 2000 to 2050. If this is not even the end of the title, it goes on. It is Integrating Wildfire Risk, Wildland, and Agricultural Encroachment. So a free PDF is available online at sciencedirect.com. Your boy's been busy, right? So Stern's bill would have targeted the Malibu Palisades development scheme. So 2 of the places that have been reduced, right? Businesses lost, homes lost. I can't think about the goddamn animals, it's been a very emotional time. How much effort was, I just keep going back to Altadena. And how those fires spread. There was a way to curb this, right? And who killed Stern's bill? What killed it? Right? The California Building Industry Association. That's right. I'll say it again. The lobbying arm of California's developers and building contractors, right? This year, this is an industry that has generated more than $60 billion in residential building revenues in the state in 2024. So when we think about why we have a housing crisis, right, in California, these people play perhaps the most significant role. So after languishing for nearly a year after it was introduced, the bill died in committee. They spent money. They worked tirelessly to kill this bill. I won't even get into the details of that, right? Now, listen, I want to be clear. I am not suggesting that we do not criticize Gavin Newsom or Bass. They're not off the hook, right? My point is that we have to stop watching the hook itself and start paying attention to the goddamn line. Follow the line, and you will find the hands that are doing the thingy when you cast the line. And then maybe we go further out and we even see the whole damn lake. And who owns that? I don't know. I don't fish. I don't know the words, but you get what I'm saying. We're not letting anybody off the hook. We just got to stop staring at the hook alone. Right? So they're not off the hook, but if our criticisms don't include these larger, far more insidious, right? Dangerous, shadow groups, our power maps are all gums and no teeth, right? And I want to really further illustrate that point. When we are repeating the talking points of our enemies, we have lost the plot, right? We need good policy. And I want to be clear, it's not just the politicians. I started to go deeper and deeper and deeper, right? But it's our politicians, it's city halls, it's county governments, it's planning boards, it's zoning commissions, it's architectural boards, which I didn't even know existed, right? There are so many areas of failure here. And all of these people signed off on these projects. You will find that at a certain point, Newsom has signed off on one, although, one in particular I can think of, his team pushed back against it. They made a reduced version of it, which is supposed to be like safe or whatever. But, this is a real thing. And I'm going to add another layer to this that's going to bring it home, because I just threw a lot of boards at you, and I just sat here and I was just like, oh my God, how many planning boards are there? How many zoning commissions? I turned into Cat Williams right there. I'm sorry. But there were so many things, and it really threw me off. But I'm going to bring something that's going to go full circle for us. Don't worry, I got you, right? So just before I do that, J.P. Rose, an urban wildlands policy director and senior attorney with the Center for Biological Diversity, right? So this is an environmental advocacy group, spoke to The Lever about the, quote, huge pressure on local and state officials to continue approving large-scale development in high-risk areas and roll out the red carpet for more such developments, right? So why are they able to do this? I'm going to play for you this clip. Bernie Sanders, he's talking to Jon Stewart, and they are talking about AIPAC. And this is where we bring it home, because it's these lobby groups that are getting away with fucking murder. And we, part of our 21st century organizing blueprint, is going to look at how to dismantle them. Here we go.
Very critical, I don't know what your view is, of what Netanyahu has been doing in Gaza. Okay?
Brother, preaching to the
Okay.
I would say choir, but you and I both probably had to go to a synagogue, so I don't know what I'm preaching to the cantor.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I introduced legislation that would stop arms sales to Netanyahu. We got 19 votes, which observers thought was very significant.
Right.
Significant majority of people who consider themselves Democrats agree with us. I got 19 votes. Okay? The American people do not believe that we should be supporting a government that is starving children right now as we speak. But if you stand up, you're going to find that AIPAC and other billionaire-funded super PACs are going to go to war against you, putting huge amounts of money in a primary in your general election. So it's not a question of not understanding. There are many members of the Senate who will come to you privately and say, my God, what Netanyahu is doing is outrageous. I just can't vote because money is going to come and destroy my political career. So you got to get at the root of everything, not at everything, but a key part of this whole discussion, John, is money in politics. People cannot vote their conscience. They can't vote their intelligence when they know if they vote against the corporate world or the big money world, they're going to get defeated at the polls.
And this is exactly it, right? And look, we can say until we're blue in the face, they have to do this and there are politicians and but at a certain point, we have to confront the fact that if you ever want somebody like AOC in charge, right, there's got to be way more AOCs out there, and that they are going to be put in the same position. And she's playing chess, AOC. I like what she's doing and I like how she's doing it. That sometimes means that it doesn't look like what she doesn't look or sound like little, me and the little rabble rousers on the street. She's not supposed to. We don't need her to. And it confuses me when we act like this is what she's supposed to do. We are going to start to hyper focus, not necessarily in this show alone, right? But I am working on it. I'm going to make sure others are working on it. That I'm very much looking forward to either reading or writing the handbook on how to dismantle lobby groups. For the record, I'm sure that there are already many resources out there, and I will bring them to us, and I will punch them up and make them interesting, because these people are ruining our fucking lives. That's the only way we can. Because here's the thing: get rid of Newsom, get rid of Bass. What is that going to do for us, right? There is a reason why Musk and Trump hate Newsom. They know that he's up next. He's the guy, right? He's made California a sanctuary city for migrants and for trans people and for, abortion care, all these things. This shit matters. That doesn't mean he's above critique, but if they see him for the threat that he represents to their ideology, why can't we see him as a value add to our goals? So we can do all the things we need to do in terms of criticizing power, but if we're not building it simultaneously, what are we doing? Trying to get our follower counts up? What the fuck? Sorry, it got late. I'm sorry. Oops. It's just, I can't stand it. But the smolder, the ash, as it clears, you will see a series of footprints, right? And we don't need to worry about the quality of enemy we're facing, because once, just like with AIPAC, once you remove the veil, you will find that there's not some gargantuan threat, right? It's just a bunch of fucking dudes in boat shoes, right? Who have an over-reliance on wearing sports jackets with jeans. That's it. And a very tacky Rolex. That's who, wispy hair. That's what we're going against. But because there's no means, we have no policy in place, no laws through which to hold them accountable. And that is a role that politicians can play for us, should we have the right ones. So there's more to be said. I've got a slew. I thought I could fit it in, but I'm too yappy. And this ended up being more information than I thought. But these are our land barons. We've got water barons and we've got land barons. And take out Karen Bass. Sorry, I always pause because I forget that there's black ones. Take out Gavin Newsom. And that you put somebody else who's probably worse in place, and that these dynamics are going to continue to happen. I don't want them to happen anymore. We will figure this out. I promise. Just before we hop, right? I am fielding the fact that we were talking about price gouging. and landlords, because that's part of this conversation, but we'll do that for next episode. If you're listening to this on a Monday. If you are in LA, or if you have loved ones in LA, please pay attention to the weather between today, Monday, and Wednesday, right? LA Times is reporting on wind gusts that have the potential for what they're saying is, quote, explosive fire growth across LA County, right? It's 50 to 65 mile per hour gusts of wind are headed out this way Monday evening. The strongest winds will be arriving before dawn on Tuesday and peaking through Wednesday. Be safe, be mindful, take good care. I want to end this episode. I'm not, because this is one of these like little special thingies. I'm trying to, not be too yappy. I'm stockpiling our questions. Do send me, but I want to leave you with this Marx and Engels quote, right? Because I can feel us. Things feel a little despondent. It's so important to just get out there and see people and be in community. But I know a lot of us are isolated and alone for any number of reasons, or feel that way. And I want to remind you that you're not. You're not alone. And that your art, whatever it is, whatever's on your mind, whatever creation that you have, do it. Make it. We need it. That's the thing that evolved us, our ability to communicate, to connect. So, for those of us especially who are like, I'm a radical, I got you. I pulled out the Marx and Engels for you. For all of us, right? Here we go. The less you eat, drink, and read books, the less you go to the theater, the dance hall, the public house, the less you think, love, theorize, sing, paint, fence, etc., the more you save, the greater becomes your treasure, which neither moths nor dust will devour. Your capital. The less you are, the more you have. I'm saying that again. The less you are, the more you have. The less you express your own life, the greater is your alienated life. The greater is the store of your estranged being. So to all my estranged beings out there, for all my alienated family out there, right, who don't know, you are a stranger no more. Make, drink, eat, art, go to the theater. Like I said, the public house. I had to go look up what that was. It's like, what is that? I'm like, the rec center. Oh, okay. That's what it was in the hood. All the things that give you any kind of semblance of joy, that make life worth living, do it. Do it. And do not see that as contradiction to this work that we're doing, to change things. Because if you cannot be transformed yourself, we will never transform this very shitty society, but this really beautiful world with wonderful people in it. I love you all very, very much. And I know it's like, some of us we've never met, but I feel it. I just have been so moved by what I've seen. I really have. And yeah, it's good. It's good to have a place of our own. And I look forward to continuing to build it more with all of you. So that's it. But let me be clear. I might be soft. I might be a little softer. But I'm ready to fuck shit up. I'm going to get all these people in this California real estate lobby. Names are coming. Okay, with that, woo! I might need to eat me a little granola bar or something. Let me hit this end music out before I waste y'all's time. All right. Just want to say thank you so much for listening to JFK Today. It means the world to me. The show really is a labor of love. New episodes are dropping 5 times a week. We're available everywhere podcasts are. If you love the show, please feel free to support it as best you can. We're at patreon.com/JanayFK. Enough of that. I want to hear from you. Drop your voice note questions to JFK Today Show at gmail.com. Shout out to Karen Carolyn. And shout out to you, listeners that make it all possible. Love you. Peace.